All right, good morning. Now, for the last 8 years, one man has been combating jiggers in this country, something that very many of us are not familiar with, but quite a few in the rural areas know what a jigger problem is. Well, Eradicating Kenya CEO, Mr. Kamau, is here himself to tell us about how far this campaign against jiggers has gone, and very importantly, why finally the government has recognized that jiggers are a problem in this country and therefore set in place a policy. Mr. Kamau, karibu bana.
Thank you very much.
We call you the jigger man.
Yeah.
You know, the other day I heard you were in my county in Bungoma, and I said, this man is going to bring jiggers here. Keep them where
I was
you
going
know.
to your county to eradicate jiggers, not to bring more jiggers.
You are going to eradicate jiggers.
Yeah.
I did not know, first of all, that the jiggers in Bungoma, well, there are many things which are on the ground that people don't know about, but I didn't know it was a big problem to merit your intervention.
Not only in Bungoma. I can tell you that the highly infested counties in Kenya, Bungoma is one of them. You go to Vihiga, Kakamega County, Busia County, Barigo, Murang'a, Nyeri County. You go to Kware County, Kilifi, Lamu County. All those are very highly infested counties, but at not on a particular order.
Yes.
But I can tell you the problem in about 24, 28 counties is quite, the problem is quite big.
24 to 28 counties have jiggers?
No, those are the sphere infested counties. Others have got pockets of jigger infestations, like in Nairobi County. If you go to Kibera, you go to Babadogo, you find people who are jigger infested. So no county is spared from jigger infestation.
There seems to be no discrimination in the well-to-do counties. What is the sort of the footprint of the jiggers in this country? What does it follow? It's all about poverty. Poverty, right?
All those counties. When you talk about marginalization, people only think about Turkana, think about other bordering counties. But even in central Kenya, in western Kenya, Nyanza provinces, we have got people who are actually marginalized by this problem of jiggers. And it's only because one of the significant or one of the characteristics of jigger infestation is poverty. These are the people who are at the bottom of poverty. They can't afford to buy simple sanitation and medication materials. They can't afford to buy a pin to remove one jigger. They can't afford to buy a basin. They can't afford to buy soap. They can't afford clothing. They can't afford shoes. So poverty is one of the biggest causes.
Jiggers exist in an environment of poverty. That's what you're saying. But what causes jiggers? And you know, people don't know what a jigger is. You know, how do you get it? Like, for example, let me tell you something.
Have you ever had jiggers yourself?
I don't remember. I may have had jiggers when I was young, and I suspect I had. I have no recollection. But what causes jiggers? How does it happen? What does it transit from to become a problem that swells and people have wounds and so forth?
You know, jiggers comes from a flea. It's a female flea, which are found in chicken, especially if you find the people who share the same household with chicken and dogs. So that actually those domestic animals, they are very good breeding zones for jiggers, for fleas. When they get into the human being, they burrow inside the body and they start laying eggs. Where they lay eggs, that's what we call the jigger, the pot where they lay eggs. And that jigger can actually produce up to about 300 eggs at one go. That's why you wonder why somebody has got multiple jiggers on their feet, especially because they like feeding on organic matter, especially those people who are very dirty. And you see, you cannot be hygienic if you haven't taken a shower, if you cannot bathe, and these are brought by lack of what I've told you, basic sanitation materials.
I wish my producer can get some pictures of the jiggers, the infestation, and how ugly it looks for people who are not familiar with it. Now, finally, I mean, you say government has given due attention to the jigger problem.
It has.
What is the what is the latest on that front?
For the last 8 years, I've been able to fight this menace as an organization without any structures, without any policy, without any framework, any proper channels you can follow, without knowing what kind of medication. We've actually been doing what we call fixing wings as we fly, because we didn't know even consultations. There's no literature about jiggers. Now, if you Google jiggers, it takes you to Eradicating Kenya. This is what we have been doing.
I hope it doesn't take you to Kenya. It takes you to Eradicating Kenya.
and of course in Kenya.
Yes.
So we had a very, very big challenge of trying to even bring other partners on board, because if you wanted to do jiggers like in Bungoma, you didn't know where to start. But also, we had a lot of challenges from even other government departments, other stakeholders wanting to support, but how do they support something that has got no policy? Right. So for the last 8 years, we have been lobbying the government to give us a policy. And about 3 weeks ago, we launched the policy. And also on top of the policy, the government gave us a Jigger Awareness Day to be marked every 3rd of March.
Every March this 3rd, we are now going to mark Jigger Awareness.
It's a National Jigger Awareness Day. Yes. And this is the first ever national day to be, which is not political, without being initiated by World Health Organization or any other international organization.
Just on local advocacy.
Just on local advocacy. Yes. You know, we have had so many days, even donkey days, holidays, all those things. Yeah. But the problem of jiggers has been so huge to be ignored, and that's why we had to lobby the government to give us those kind of things.
Yeah. How big is the problem in terms of numbers? How many people are infected or potentially at threat?
According to the CS of Health, James Masharia, during the launch, he said that more than 2 million Kenyans, it's about more than 4% of Kenyans are jigger infested. And 10 million Kenyans are at the risk of jigger infestation. It's quite big.
With such an intense problem, how do you explain that there has been no public or health campaign? For example, we do all manner of things against polio, malaria, vaccinations against, all manner of things which threaten the health of people. How come there was nothing about jiggers?
I've never been able to comprehend that. But all I can tell you is that jigger comes with a lot of stigma. No one wants to talk about it. Even me initially.
That's why I'm saying I'm shocked that jiggers are in my country.
Yeah. Even me initially, I didn't think that I would want to talk about it until I got to know the impact or the effects of the jigger menace. When you look at the school-going children, like now we have the free primary education, but how many children are walking to school comfortably to learn? Yeah. We have so many kids who cannot even be able to engage in sports, fully in sports. We have men and women in 2007, 2013, who did not even go to vote, because how do they vote? How do they walk to the police stations? How do they even put the thumbprint on a paper? Because they have jiggers all over their bodies. And also, apart from that, they've never gotten an opportunity even to go and collect an ID card. So it's a very grave problem that needed what now we have gotten from the government.
But the most infected or affected are a certain generation age group, right?
School-going children and the elderly.
Elderly.
The young people you see, middle-aged people who are highly infested, are bachelors in the villages.
The hygiene issues.
The hygiene issues, and also those guys who are involved in alcohol and substance abuse. Yeah, so it has to do with hygiene. But young children, the age between about 15, and then the elderly. Some people who have been neglected, especially orphans and vulnerable children.
Let's approach it in two ways. One, from what the do's and don'ts. If you want to avoid jiggers, being infested with jiggers, what should you not do in your environment?
Let's say even which is also in the policy document.
Right.
We have been able to highlight on the issues of traditional ways of how you can be able to prevent jigger infestation. You know, Kitambo we used to have smear the floors with cow dung, ash, and such other things. And the most basic thing is to make sure that you always pour water, because jiggers fear wet places. If you pour water in your house,
occasionally sprinkle water so there's no dust, because fleas come from dust.
You know, they feed on organic matter, as I told you. That organic whatever will not be there. So it's very basic, and jiggers can actually be controlled at the household level. We don't need rocket science or external interventions to be able to eradicate jiggers. If we educate people on proper hygiene mechanisms, I can tell you we'll be able to eradicate jiggers, and also accept that we as Kenyans, wherever we are, we have a problem. Then we can be able to look at the ways of eradicating.
Now that's it. We've had jiggers. You have missed the precautions. You have been infected. You have jiggers. How do you treat it?
We have been able to highlight on also the medication, the kind of chemicals you need to use for fumigating your house. We normally use what we call potassium permanganate. It suffocates jiggers in your feet or in your hands or whatever the jiggers are. And after they suffocate, within 2 weeks, you know, in biology is that any dead substance is pushed out of your body. So jiggers suffocate and then they come out of your body. So it's a very simple way of even intervening. And then we come to your house where we now do the fumigation.
Yes.
Yeah. But more importantly is that jiggers, as I said, is brought by poverty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without sustainable measures or income generating activities, we will still talk about jiggers even in 2030. So what we have done is that we have incorporated some organizations who are helping in creating livelihood projects for these people, so that when they get some income, they'll be able to get some food security, get income, and be able to buy those simple sanitation and chemicals. Yeah.
There is no preventive, you know, the way people do fumigation, you know, the way you clear mosquitoes, you go to environments and do, you know, spray around. There is no universal public health approach to prevention of the jiggers uprising.
Now what we have done, now with the policy, this is what's going to be applied. Like we have been able to incorporate the Ministry of Agriculture in a way that they are going to know which chemicals, environmental friendly chemicals that can be used for fumigation. And also through the policies of NEMA. So they're going to help us in that. We have incorporated the Ministry of Interior so that the chiefs, assistant chiefs, can be able to identify those people who are jigger infested, take them to hospitals, or call on any public official to come and fumigate their homes. We have incorporated the schools so that we can have programs like health programs in schools, or hygiene clubs in schools. So this policy, if it was there when we started, I can tell you by now we'll be talking about reduction of jiggers by about 75%. But now is when people are going to learn and get to know what exactly need to be done to eradicate this problem.
If you look at that, Kamau, look at the jiggers there. So what have those people been applying on their feet? Is there an ointment, something like paraffin?
No. Like
what are the local solutions to this problem?
You know, there have been so many ways people have been using. There's so many chemicals. There, even when somewhere people are using diesel, others were using paraffin. So the policy has actually given the guidelines on what kind of chemicals one is supposed to use that won't have any effect. So, and those things were not there before. That's why everybody was using anything that actually can ease the pain from your body. But now we have a system. Everybody now, not even that, not even on the government departments. We even have got instructions on how even NGOs. We don't want someone to come just from anywhere and decide that since there's a jiggers in Kenya, I can start doing jigger eradication. There's a way you have to follow a procedure.
Vetting and systems.
Systems so that we don't
remedies are you providing
so that you don't cause secondary infections trying to heal jiggers.
But I'm seeing people there with things in basins. I mean, when you are going out to do this campaign, what are they doing? What are people doing out there? What are they using? And is that recommended? And what should they be doing?
As I told you when you started, there was nothing like, the first time I went to look for medication for jiggers, the first doctor I found, he told me he doesn't know what to do with jiggers. It's about, he told me it's about hygiene, and that's all he told me. He told me, you go and look for something that has got oil in it or avocado, such things.
That can poison them.
That can poison the jiggers. And that's what I'm telling you again is that the policy has really come to guide Kenyans on how to eradicate jiggers. What we use is potassium permanganate.
But you see, what I'm asking, Kamau, is this. You mean that there is no medication
that
can be administered to deal with the jigger infestation?
There is no known medication for jiggers, not only in Kenya, but the world over. And that's why the policy is recommending for researchers to come and do proper research
Exactly.
To
Kemri should be on top of this situation, because maybe this is a unique problem.
Now we have guidelines
yes.
on how we are able to eradicate jiggers. Before,
yes.
even what we are using was a trial and error. We didn't know whether potassium permanganate can even have some side effects.
Yeah.
But we had to use it because when we used it initially, some people got healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the policy calls for researchers to come and do proper research,
yeah,
so that they can be able to see whether we can have a known medication for jiggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, if you're watching this show, you can also be part of the discussion. You have a question for Dr. Kamau, the CEO of Eradicating Kenya, who is involved in the jigger eradication. He's all over the country. If your area has the jiggers, maybe you have a question for him, and we want to ask him why he hasn't come to your place. you can invite him. And now let's go to the program where you are covering. Of course, the SMS is on the screen. You can 22422. You can send us your question. We'll post it to Kamau. But where are you in the country? You seem to be, covering the whole country.
We have covered the whole country, and I can tell you that to date, we have created about more than 85% awareness. And there's a question you asked me initially. Yeah. Why is it that jiggers are becoming more and more?
Yes, instead of reducing.
Instead of reducing. Yeah. But the answer is jiggers are not becoming more and more. People who are jigger infested have reduced, the stigma has gone down. So because of the awareness, they are now coming out to talk about it.
Yeah.
Before initially, there was a lot of stigma associated with jigger infestation. We have even some areas like even where you come from. I have heard families say that particular families have got a curse and it's a tradition for them to have jiggers, also all those kind of things. But I can tell you, jiggers is not as a result of a curse, it's not as a result of witchcraft.
Yes.
It's a result of poverty and lack of proper hygiene.
Yeah.
So we have been able to cover all the 47 counties, especially, and what we do is that just to give you a brief of what we do, when somebody calls on us to come and do jigger eradication in their particular area. Yes. First, if you recall it today, if you call me to come to Bungoma, I'll identify those people who are jigger infested. Yes. And just to make it clear is that we don't go looking for people with jiggers. I know people think that we go to Kisumu, Bungoma to go and look for those people. It's the locals who normally call us to go to their own particular area. Yes. So when you come to your area, we do the intervention first, where we treat the people with jiggers, we fumigate their homes. Then we educate them on proper hygiene. Yes. And it's about the schools. We try to talk with the teachers to form hygiene clubs in those schools, and then do the follow-ups in schools, and especially for the school-going children. Yes. And for the communities, we educate them on how they can be able to prevent and control the jigger menace. Then finally, we do what we call livelihood projects. We try to see how can we get these people out of poverty. So we have started some livelihood projects. We have done some livestock and agricultural farming for these families who are initially jigger infested, so they can be able to get out of poverty and now start earning some income. Because if they don't do that, then that means we will still talk about jiggers, as I said, even come 2030.
But you're also giving us shoes, we who have jiggers.
No, the shoes are not for only the people who are jigger infested. Yes. I told you we have more than 10 million pairs of shoes to give. Yes. As Eradicating Kenya, in collaboration with other partners. Yes. And so far I can tell you we have given about almost 3.8 million pairs. Yes. So at this era, 21st century, it would be a shame to have pupils walk to school barefoot. So my agenda, or the Eradicating Kenya agenda, is first of all to see that no child in Kenya walks to school barefoot. And we are not only giving shoes, we are giving new shoes.
You might be giving them laptops in the future.
You can
imagine someone going to school barefoot with a laptop, eh?
We are trying to.
We
are also trying to complement the government efforts. Yes. Because, as you say, it would be a shame for a child to carry a laptop barefoot infested with jiggers. And then, so as an organization and other organizations, we must always look at how we can be able to complement the work of the government so that we can go all be at par with what is happening in this country.
Yeah, but somebody asks here, thank you very much for the question. This is Noor. Simon from Nairobi says, can you explain why Northeastern area has very few jiggers, yet most people there are poor, in fact, walk barefoot?
We have some offices in Northeastern.
Yes.
Like if you go to Marsabit, I can tell you the level of jigger infestation in Marsabit, some parts of Garissa, and Wajil. I can tell you it's very high. People don't, the same thing you're talking about.
It's a stigma.
The stigma.
Because you are ostracized, you want to hide.
Yeah,
from,
people hide.
Yeah.
But those who are extremely poor,
yeah.
It's like you're trying to compare someone who lives in Kibera and someone who lives in the village. The people who live in Kibera, actually, even if they are living in the slums, I can tell you hygienically they are better than those people who are living in the rural areas.
Yes.
We look at their income and their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's not about that kind of poverty. It's about also it's also about the poverty of the mind.
Yes.
There are people also who are so desperate in life that they have nothing that they can offer.
Yeah. Somebody here called Twalib Barakat says, well, by the way, this jigger problem is not African only, right?
No, it's not in Africa.
But how are we faring? Let's look at it comparatively. You know, you like saying we are number one in this and that. How are we faring with jiggers?
Some countries like Brazil, it has had the problem for a very long time. They were actually the first people to come up with a policy. So it's not an African problem. Yes. It's all over the world. Yeah. It's only that...
but there are no jiggers in Europe. Well, somebody says there are jiggers there because he says... a friend working in Switzerland told me the jiggers were much bigger. How many species of jiggers are there?
These are the things that you're talking about on how to carry out the research.
Yes.
We need to know. And more importantly, we need to have organizations do a baseline survey to be able to get to know how many Kenyans actually are jigger infested. Yeah.
And your estimate is that about 8 million people are at threat.
10 million people are at the risk of jigger infestation, and more than 2 million are actually today jigger infested.
More than 3 million.
About 2.5 million.
Okay, so another question comes in here. By the way, is jiggers a problem? Is it transmittable? Is it can it be transmitted?
No, it can't be. If you are hygienic, if you are clean,
if they reside in you, they stop there. You cannot, if you are sharing.
You can only be able to get jiggers from another person if you are dirty. If
the eggs are not transmittable.
They can survive if you are clean. Right. They can't. You need to make sure that your nails are short enough. Yes. That you don't have any dust in your body. You actually have to be clean. Yeah.
Somebody says consider Homa Bay. People here are having problems with jiggers. And now somebody says come to Luanda Market, which is in Vihiga. You know, the people there are infested with jiggers.
I'm going to be
Molly Luceno.
I'm going to be.
And somebody John Obonyo says Migori.
I'm going to be in Vihiga tomorrow. We are launching the program there with the governor.
Where?
To Vihiga tomorrow. We are going to launch the Jigger Eradication program together with the governor. I was in Homa Bay on Friday, and I can tell you Homa Bay, the problem, the kind of infestation I saw in Homa Bay. Yes. It's almost the one I saw in Busia. Very severe. In fact, somebody has said in Busia it is a problem. When are you coming to Busia? And you are saying that you have been there, right? Yeah, I've been in Busia. I've been to Busia, those sides of Teso, Butura, Teso South, Teso North. I've been to everywhere, every part of this country. Yes. But I can tell you, Busia, Homa Bay, the kind of infestation I saw in those particular two areas is quite disturbing. Migori, I'm going there. I'm going to be in Migori on the 27th. Of this month. On this month again, because I'm also going to launch a campaign with the governor of Migori. Yeah. So we are covering the whole nation. And what I want to say is that it's up to our governors, first of all, to accept that we have a problem. Because we have some other governors who think when you talk about a problem like jiggers, you are embarrassing or you are trying to undermine their work. It was like that initially. I remember when we went to Western Kenya, we didn't like you much. We didn't want to hear about your stories. Yeah. But now you like me because now you'll have... Now we have problems. If you are contesting in 2017, and I've created for you some voters. With the Jigger campaign. Yeah. But somebody asked here, again, another question. What are the side effects of potassium permanganate? Again, has it been certified that when you use it, and how is it used? In any case, is it a solution? Do you mix with water, or how is it? Potassium self-help. Potassium permanganate is a powder. Yeah. And you use 1 tablespoon of that powder on 5 liters of water. Then you mix it. Yes. You can use that solution for about 2-3 days. Yes. You dip your feet for 15 minutes, 3 times a day. Within 2 weeks, you'll be clean, you'll be free from jiggers completely. Yes. It's suffocated, yeah. It's one of those. I mean, once you do it once, or you do it for 2 weeks. Period. For 2 weeks, 3 times a day. In the morning, lunch hour, and in the evening.
they will die.
They will die.
Yeah.
But as you said, is that we need to know, we need to do a research and get to know what kind of a medication.
You know, it's
one
disturbing,
can have.
Kamau, that you say we need to do research in this time and age and era. Really, I mean, a problem that has such magnitude existing within us, with health professionals around us. I'm not understanding why there has been no attention to this thing.
You should
Yet
thank,
it's visible when somebody has jiggers.
You should thank God that we have a policy now. At least the policy will guide us on how to do other things. I imagine 8 years doing a campaign without a policy, without guidelines, without any literature. It's been very, very difficult.
Okay, we are now in devolved government, and health has been devolved to the grassroots. This should be a boon to the campaign, that now local authorities, local county governments can now reach the people and they respond with health solutions because they're in charge of the health professionals. And that's what
I'm very happy, because some counties, from the time we launched the campaign, the policy 3 weeks ago, some counties have already called us to go and see how they can be able to educate the people on the contents of the policy. Even other counties have told us whether we can be able to translate the policy in their own mother languages, so that the locals can be able to understand what are the contents of this policy. So some counties have taken it very positively, and I'm very sure if you go like that, in the next 2-3 years, I can tell you you'll have reduced jigger infestation by about 75%.
Yeah. Okay, interesting questions here. Somebody, these are just comments. Someone says, why is it when you have jiggers, you enjoy scratching and feeling a lot of pain at the same time? Is that the sensation one feels?
That's one of the telltales that you have a jigger.
Yes.
It's very itchy, and it's very sweet initially, but later it becomes very, very painful. And if you don't take care of that, it can even cause a lot of secondary infestations.
Yeah, somebody says, Ruth in Maseno says she's in an NGO in Kisumu with a county, deal with an organization dealing with orphans. She says, how can she get some of your help to the school children, going children who are barefoot?
If she gets to our website, the Anti-Jigger Campaign or Ahadi Kenya, we will get the comments page. She can post her comments. Then you respond. And we have representatives in Kisumu. Actually, the other day we were in Ahelo, and I'm sure we can be able to work together, especially the vulnerable children and the orphans who need shoes. Those we can actually act immediately.
Somebody comments you, you're really doing a good job. I'm Janet from Kiambu. I would like to help in fighting jiggers. Can I get a chance? And I've seen that there are a lot of people, you have taken on some public faces and notables, and including former Miss Kenya, who is involved in your campaign, and are you welcoming other hands?
No, we actually have not taken over. People volunteer. Even Cecilia volunteered to come and join the campaign. We have got very many volunteers. In the whole of Kenya, we have more than 10,000 volunteers who work with us almost on daily basis. And we have a lot of social workers, caregivers, and such other people. So if you want to get involved, especially we are now looking at people who are going to educate the masses on the contents of this policy. Then they are welcome. They can just go to our website, as I've said. They post their comments and how they would like to support this campaign. And what I can say is that now the campaign is moving from being an Ahadi Kenya campaign. It's now going to be involve each and every partner. If you think you can be able to engage, especially the NGOs that are engaged in humanitarian work, they should now be able to incorporate the jigger eradication projects in their projects, because now we have set down rules and regulations on how you can be able to do it. A policy which can be able to guide them. It's not like us. When we started, very few NGOs were doing jigger eradication campaigns because they didn't know how to go about it. We've even had international donors who wanted to support the government directly on the issue of jigger eradication, but they couldn't do it because every time they ask, how do we support the government? Do they have a policy? There's no policy.
Not even a framework for
framework. But for now, I'm very, very sure my work has been reduced by about 50%.
Somebody has a suggestion here. You know, this is not a medical clinic, so I mean, we're not dispensing health services here. But somebody says, good work, Kamau. Try petroleum jelly, which is very effective at suffocating.
You know, let me tell you. When I was young, I had jiggers. And one of the things that were being used on us was a milking jelly.
Right.
So anything that has got petroleum jelly,
if you spread it there and
because it suffocates the jiggers, so they can't survive.
Yes.
So if you have petroleum jelly, whatever you are, you can use it actually to even heal or treat jiggers.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's true. Even avocados.
Yes.
Because they have that kind of oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there jiggers in Baringo? Somebody's there and she's wondering whether you're going to be there shortly. Elizabeth from Kabarton.
Yeah, I was in Baringo last year.
Yes.
A place called Kitul or something.
Yes.
But I know the problem also in Baringo is quite big. I've been to all the counties in Kenya. Yeah.
That is work.
I've been everywhere in this country. But let me tell you one of other things that you find that people who are jigger infested are a bit retarded. And people keep on asking, how come people who are jigger infested always
are slow or seem to be mentally
What happens is that because when jiggers suck blood from your body, it lowers the flow of oxygen into your brains.
So interferes with your capacities to think and
so you become a bit retarded. But after you recover, I've seen people who have recovered. Last year, we attended a wedding of a guy who was heavily infested with jiggers. People thought he had lost it, and he got married, and now he's now a farmer. Yes. Yeah. So people should not look down on people who are jigger infested. They should look at how they can be able to help them.
Yeah.
And also now we have, it was very hard for us even to hold medical camps in some areas because of some political interference and such other things. But now the policy has given the guidelines on how the provincial administration is supposed to help those NGOs who wants to hold medical camps and also do mobilization for those people.
Yes. Yeah. So they can turn up.
They can turn up. It's actually going to be the easiest thing ever for any NGO to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're coming to an end, but let me ask you, before there's a lot of superstitions, I'll read for you some of them, but what prompted you to start the Jigger Campaign? You said you suffered from jiggers yourself.
Yeah, when I was young, and then when I went back to the village, after almost 20-something years, I realized the problem is still there, and it was not being given any attention by anybody. And I realized the effects of that infestation, especially for the families I saw initially, was very, very disturbing. Yeah. And I thought it was the right time for me to see what can be done to eradicate it. I didn't know, actually, I thought it's only my village that had, and not only the village, there are only those few families that had jiggers at that particular time. I didn't know the whole of the country had got the problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Where is that?
That's in Mathioya, in Muranga.
Muranga.
Yeah.
Where did the campaign, when you started the Hari Kenya and the Jigger Campaign, you started in Kiambu?
I started in Muranga. Yes. I started with about 3 families. Yes. Then I registered about 1,350 people. Yes. And all those 1,350 people, today, they are engaged in farming. All the children are back to school. And now they actually, from their farming, because they do a lot of farming, they're able to give me some money to trickle back to the community. Right. So it's something that can be eradicated if only we are able to engage these people into productive agriculture and livestock farming. Yes. I'm telling you, the issue of jiggers will be eradicated in the next few years.
The final question is this. Since you started, which is that part you've said, have you eradicated it in that particular area? Or is it dodgy? I mean, is there a place that you started and you say we have conquered jiggers there?
Where I started initially, that particular village, the Getuge location, you rarely find anybody who is jigger infested. Yeah. It's completely eradicated. But the biggest problem, I say, that it was stigma. So you find out that some people are now coming out to say, actually, when you came here first, I was not able to come out. They are coming out now. Okay. But where we have been, and we have been able to do proper follow-ups, we have seen people who have fully recovered.
So eradication is proved difficult because people don't come out.
People don't come out.
If we went and did a county-wide campaign and said this week we are eradicating jiggers and everybody came out, you'd probably wipe it out.
And you see, the problem was not even the people who are affected directly. Yeah. Because even the locals, like you'd say you don't want your neighbor to be seen to have jiggers. Yeah. So you block us from even reaching your neighbor because you feel that because you're in Nairobi, you don't want your neighbor to be seen to have jiggers. Yeah. But now this is coming to an end. And anybody now talking about embarrassment and talking about stigma, I think right now they are in the long side of history because now that phase is gone. Okay. The last 8 years, I can say we have been doing more of awareness creation. All right. Now with the policy is proper and pure business. for eradication of jiggers. And I can tell you, if what the government has shown is anything to go by, I can assure you in the next 2 years, come next general election, majority of those adults who are eligible for voting will be queuing to vote, and more.
So they'll be able to stand on their feet.
On their feet, and children will be able to go back to school.
Okay. All right. Bit of people have superstition out there. As you said, people think it's witchcraft, it's all manner of things. And some of it is coming through. Somebody says, hizi jiggers zililetwa na Wahindi, ni kama tupanya tudogo tuliletwa na meli kutoka Amerika hapo zamani. Hakuja kuwa na jiggers. Huyo ni Mohammed kutoka Pumwani. And somebody else also says that jiggers were brought and deposited in Central Province by Wazungus wa koloni.
You know, we've had all these. We have had all these kind of theories about how jiggers were brought into this country. But
the truth is hygiene.
The truth is that we have jiggers in this country. Let's forget about who brought jiggers to this nation.
Yes.
But let's focus on how we can be able to eradicate these menace. Because some people say actually that they were brought by the Indians when they are building the railway line. But you know, there's no literature of how jiggers came to this country. There are no facts.
Let's call it something that grew up among us because we didn't keep hygiene. And somebody says finally that I have never seen a jigger and how it looks like. Where do you think you can put jiggers for future viewing by foreign and local tourists like me? I mean in a zoo or a park, like the way snakes are tamed. Look
in fact,
that's our last hilarious comment.
In fact, let me tell you.
Yes.
If he's in Kisumu, I'm going to Kisumu tomorrow because I'm going to be in Vihiga. He can get my contacts from my office. We can go with him to Vihiga to see how jiggers look like. But more importantly, is that our strategic plan in the next 2 years. I've already initiated conversations with the museums of Kenya because I know jiggers will be eradicated. And we want to archive the jiggers so that our children, our great-grandchildren, and anybody else who have never seen the effects, how jiggers look like, what were the impacts of jiggers in this nation. In the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they can be able to visit the archives, see how jiggers look like, and they will know that. And
the pictures of how people are affected looked like, and the whole.
Because I would like people to always know that this country had a problem, and the problem was solved through interventions and through hard work.
Thank you so much, Stanley Kamau, the CEO of Eradicating Kenya. Tomorrow he's in Vihiga to launch the Jigger Campaign there with the Governor Karanga. So if you're in Vihiga, Luanda, you send me a message, be there, join the campaign. The idea is keep your hygiene because jiggers come from fleas in dusty environments, and keep your room wet occasionally. Isn't that true? Yeah,
and also apart from launching the campaign for the jiggers in Vihiga tomorrow, we're also going to present the ambulance machinani. These are the ambulances that are pulled by motorcycles that can be able to reach the most vulnerable, poor, disabled people in Vihiga County.
All right.
So that's where I'll be tomorrow. And then next week on 27th, I'm going to be in Migori. Then from Migori, I'm going to be in Kware. So I'm going to be in all the counties in the next few months.
Thanks for watching. For more information, check the Eradicating Kenya website. You'll get all the information on how to get in touch with Dr. Stanley.
And where our kind of
where the campaign is going on. Thank you for watching Power Breakfast. Let's have some music now.